Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Burr with the Tattooed Spirit. In this video I'm very excited for, I've been actually waiting for this entire time, is to be able to talk to you about the overview of the tarot. Not only the deck, but how we're going to approach learning the cards of the deck. Because I may have mentioned before that there's 78 cards, and I didn't want you to think that, oh my gosh, it's 78 random images that we're going to somehow have to remember and somehow have to memorize, and then we got to associate feelings and emotions to these things. That makes it seem way too overwhelming, and quite frankly, that's not exactly how we're going to learn these cards anyway. There's a lot of people that whenever they first pull the tarot out, they go through the little booklet that comes along with it, and they're reading random words to each card that have no attachment to what the image actually is. Over the past 20 years, I've been working with these cards, and I think I found a way to introduce each card to you in a way that just by viewing the image, it's going to associate to the true meaning of how that card is affecting you and affecting the people that if you want to share your skills and talents in learning about these cards with other people whenever you begin reading for other people or to introduce other people to what you've been working with the tarot. So, first things first, the 78 cards of the tarot, okay? They're divided in different groups. They're not just random scatterings of just, a bunch of different images. There's grouping of different images. I want to teach you just an overview. We're going to get into very specifics later. But the overview of how these 78 cards are organized is already going to give you files to sort of, as we learn a card, you'll know that that belongs to this row because it's this, what I did with the colors, and it makes sense because of the number matches this other number. And we're going to create this file system that whenever you see, for instance, a trump card or a major arcana card, as they're called, once you see that, you have an idea of exactly what we're dealing with. And it's also, you're going to visualize it's in the first row or the second row or the third row. And you're going to know, are we talking about worldly influences, interpersonal influences, or universal spiritual influences that are affecting us? So before I get ahead of myself, let me just introduce the Rider-Waite deck. That's the deck that I've been using that's the most widely available to you. It's distributed by US Games. You can also get a link from my references or resources page on the tattooedspirit.com website. I invite you to check that out, find out more about me anyway, but I really suggest getting the deck in front of your hands so you can begin to lay them out. Organize them in a way that whenever you see them, you know what's above what, because that's going to give you invaluable information about what you know is even comes before the next one, so that you have a better understanding of what particular card you're looking at. I hope that makes sense. It will in just a moment, as I explain to you how the 78 cards are divided. I don't think I mentioned this before, so bear with me, but we're going to get a little bit more specific in this video so that in our subsequent videos we can just get straight in and you'll have a better understanding of whatever I'm talking about whenever I mention a major card, okay? So the 78 cards are divided into two massive groups. The first group is called the majors. They're also called the trumps. Now, there are people that have been studying tarot and work the tarot, and they only work with these cards, and they give very little attention to the other 56 cards. Because these 22 cards of the majors, those are the heavy hitters. Whenever you do a multiple card spread or a reading, your eye is going to naturally go to these heavy hitter trump cards or major cards. Now, there's 22 of them. And I have seen different ways that people have divided them and organized them to have a better understanding of what the patterning is of meaning in these cards. But what I found works best for me and in helping myself and in helping my clients in my practice is that whenever you take the cards that are numbered 1 to 21 and you organize them in 3 rows, I'll do them so you're seeing that, 3 rows of 7. So cards 1 through 7, and then 8 through 14, and 15 through 21, okay? And then you have this other magical card that we talked about, this full card that's not even has a number, it's a 0. And we're going to get into that when we begin to talk about why that's not even a number, that this infinity of 0 doesn't belong to this group. But to kind of give you an overview of where we're going and how I'm looking for you to begin to structure and how you're looking to organize all of these cards to make more sense, is that whenever we begin talking about the first 7 cards, which is that first line that I'm going to actually instruct you to lay out for yourself in front of you whenever you get your cards, all of those cards represent the influences of like the world, the worldly influences that affect you. We're going to get into that in the next video when we begin talking about the cards. Perhaps I should have laid those out for you, but we're just going to hold off on that for a second. Now, the second row of that collection of the majors, the cards numbered 8 through 14, those are the interpersonal influences, those influences that affect you when you're solitary, you're just contemplating yourself, and you go through the different stages of your life thinking certain ways or being pulled in certain ways where you have a reason to do certain things, and it's just all your interpersonal influences that affect your life. Now, the third row, the lower, those are more esoteric. Those are like universal influences. Those are the spiritual influences on you. The influences of God, if you happen to fall under that particular mindset or belief system. Or the influences of just, it's universal time for you to be pushed in a certain direction or another. This will make a lot more sense when we actually see the cards, but I can't do that now, or else this video would be like 9.5 hours long. So that's the basic structure of what we call the major cards, the major trumps, the arcana of the big ones, okay? Those are 22 cards. And if you begin to view them, like I'm going to show you, 3 rows of 7 and that extra full card floating around, you're going to have an understanding of the flow of why we're here, why you're here, and what happens to us whenever we go through certain changes in our life. So, those are those. The other 56 cards are divided into 4 different suits or groups, okay? Very, very simple. The Wands suit, there's 14 of these cards. These cards have everything to do with your actions, your doings. It's basically, if you're familiar with the elemental system, it's the fire. It's everything with fire. It's activity. It's sort of commerce. It's the movement. It's your actions. It's your doings of life. The other 14 cards of this suit are of cups. This is everything to do with your emotional life, what you're feeling. All the different 14 cards explains to you and illustrates to you, including, of course, whenever the card comes in reversed, everything that you could be feeling or how you could be feeling better about a certain subject to affect the outcome of it. The next suit is of all of your mental, all of your thinking qualities. These are the entire 17 cards of the Swords suit, okay? Again, all these images that explain to you, help describe to you what's going on in your inner life, to find those patterns that we were talking about, to help you understand what thinking processes you have going that are serving you and not serving you, that are leading to the outcomes in your life, which are represented by these coins suit, or I think in this deck it's called the Pentacles. It doesn't really matter. And so you have, again, 14 cards in this coins or Pentacles suit that explain to you where you are being in your life, depending on what you have been doing, what you have been feeling, and what you have been thinking. Because you can understand, if you've the least bit familiar with the law of attraction, how what you think, what you feel, and what you do is how you are in your life, what results in your life. So we're going to go through patterns of not only the numbers of the cards, 1 through the 14, and there's actually these interesting things, they're like personality suits where you have knights and pages and kings and queens, and that's just going to bring in a whole nother dynamic, again, having to do with what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're doing, and what you're living. Okay, so I welcome you to come back. We're going to start talking about the individual cards and get more specific about how you lay out the cards. And don't worry about doing readings later. I'm going to be able to answer questions throughout this process if you have a question. But I want you to now just enjoy learning about these influences and patterns. And then we're going to get into how to use these cards in readings later. Okay? It's just one doesn't really come before the other, but it just is a lot more fun to learn about the cards first. Understand that whenever we get to the readings and a card comes over, you already have an idea of what is happening, rather than having to go to this book that comes with the deck and you're trying to read random adjectives and trying to make sense all logically from it. It doesn't work like that. The cards don't work logically. That's why they're random. To get past that whole critical mind of the logic and just all that left brain stuff. We want to be creative. We want to be inspired, and we want to be open to new ideas. There's no better way to do that than with the cards of the tarot. So please, come back to the next video while we begin talking about each card and how to easily remember these cards and have fun while we're doing it. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you real soon.